From a symbol of love to symbol of lifestyle. So yes, we have Mr. Vijay Malhotra and Mr. Venkatesh Vijayaraghavan on stage. Over to you guys. Put your hands together, please.
Thanks very much. I think we had a wonderful session, just the one previous. And welcome all of you, and thank you, Media News, for you to have given me this opportunity to talk to a legendary marketer. I've known him over lunch, and it's extremely inspiring how this gentleman, Venky, is handling an iconic name that's synonymous with kitchens in India. So I think most of you are target audience because अपनी बीवी से जो करे प्यार, prestige से कैसे करे इनकार. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Venky, and look forward to an amazing conversation with him. So the first question is, how do you manage this lasting relationship that's been now 76 years, and you're now holding this relationship for them? How does it work? What makes it so iconic that it's synonymous with in India?
Yeah, I think, like you said, the brand is 76 years now. This is one of the brands where generations have been using it, right from grandma to mother to daughter to the son. I think gender bias not there right now anymore. I think the key is the brand has been relevant over the years, morphing itself to what's required. For example, like you said, Jo Biwi Se Kare Pyar, that's been an ad campaign that probably has been lasting so long, we find it very difficult to emulate it anymore, right? So I think the brand has been morphing itself. It's been sort of making itself relevant, constantly innovating, keeping in touch with consumers, and I think that's something that's worked for the brand brilliantly so far. And it's not easy to sustain the brand for 75 years plus, but I guess that's the job in hand right now, to probably take it to 100 years. We're quite confident, and the essence of that, and I think I see that in many of the brands that we've seen last long, the trust, right? Trust is something that when it gets passed on from generation to generation, the brand starts. The core of any brand lasting so long, I think, is to do with trust, and the trust that gets built and then gets passed on through generations. And we believe that's the essence of our brand, and that's something that we would like to be continuously invested upon. And of course, with time, change, with changing consumer profiles, change yourself. We are into digital. We are making ourselves look young. The portfolio of the products, the portfolio of the brand is changing to make them look young. So I think a lot of work at hand, but I'm quite happy to be at the helm of actually managing a brand which is such a big legacy, and I think I'm quite fortunate to do that.
So he is very humble. In fact, I read up on him before I came in here. In about 1.5 years, he's been able to manage and bring about a lot of forward-looking prep for the company to make it ready for the future. So in fact, one of the most provocative things when I was reading up on him was something that he said, and he's also speaking about it, is that what took us so far is not what's going to take us forward. So he's actually at the cusp of doing two different things. One is managing an iconic legacy brand and also getting ready for the future. So how does this balance sort of, or the change from retail shelves to the mobile digital screen? How's that panning out for you? How are you looking at it? How do you manage it day to day?
I think it's interesting. I keep saying this. An interesting anecdote. Quick commerce channels first came to us saying we want to sell cookers in channel. We were the first to discourage them, to say cooker is not a category that would sell in quick commerce. Why would somebody want 10 minutes to buy a cooker? But to our surprise, I think that category overgrew itself in quick commerce. And I think that's the type of change that's happening from retail to digital. It's quite a big transition that's happening, but at the end of the day, our learning is very clear, it's the brand. Whether it's in the retail space, whether it's in the e-com space or quick commerce or our own retail stores that we have, I think the brand is what stands out. Even in quick commerce for the matter, you or me for that matter, if we were to pick up something, the decision is made on the convenience, not on the brand. The brand is anyway chosen. So our so the way we look at it is the brand has to be omnipresent. The brand has to be present everywhere where the consumer wants us to be. So maybe we are emulating the FMCG brands to say at hand's reach. So cooker has to be at the hand's reach of consumer. A cookware has to be, an appliance has to be. So I think distribution is morphing itself into omni-channel, multiple channels presence. The first point that you made of the legacy of the brand and the transition into the new age, that's a pretty good challenge that we sort of faced with. The consumers are changing, but the belief of the consumer in the brand is not changing. So how do you therefore morph the brand? How do you make it even more relevant to the younger audience while you continue to hold your core, right? So we are one of the brands where we've got like I said, grandmas still believe in us. The mothers believe in us, and we want to make the youngsters, the kids, believe in us as well. If we were to do that, I think we're talking about 3 different generations at the same time. So how do you have a communication strategy that does not ignore any of these 3, but still be relevant to them? How do you be present in places where all the 3 core segments are required? Now, I think that's a jigsaw puzzle that we're solving. But I think it's quite an interesting challenge for us. And our competitors make it even more exciting for us because everybody is a competitor for us today. And I think that excitement is what keeps us going today.
Yeah, fantastic. So you have an exciting challenge. You're talking to 3 generations at a time, and as I track your portfolio, I also do realize that the same brand is also now into multiple categories. So there's a core category where you're like the grandmaster, you're the monopoly almost, and then there are newer categories that you're working on. So does the brand change? How does the brand transfer? How do you ensure that the whole thing comes together? Because it's got a supply element to it, it's got a production element to it, it's got a design element to it, it's got that now commerce versus retail to it. So how do you ensure that while you talk to 3 generations, you also talk to multiple categories? How does that work?
So I think the way we look at it is, as a brand, Prestige would be in everything that a kitchen stands for, right? And our purpose, probably a larger purpose, is to make the consumer get delighted with what we offer. Innovation has been the forefront of whatever we've done so far, right? But the core of what we do, I think, is the kitchen. How do you make kitchens smarter? How do you make kitchens more enjoyable? How do you make cooking more enjoyable? I think that's the core that we look at. When you apply that lens, I think there are a couple of categories that we believe are amenable to this philosophy. And that's how we've got into multiple appliances, we've got into cookware, we've got into cookers. Over the last 15, 20 years, I think we've been reasonably well placed in each of these categories. But the philosophy remains the same. It's not about a category added to get you a top line. I think it's about a category that is amenable to making kitchens even more smarter, making kitchens more enjoyable, cooking more enjoyable. As long as it fits into that bucket, I think we are there to sort of service. And when we were exchanging notes, I was telling you, I think the way I look at it, and I come from a background where I come from a telecom background where ARPU becomes very important, average revenue per user, right? So I see every household as a user for me, for my brand. As long as that household can give me a wallet share of the kitchen, I think we are there to give them products that can actually grab the wallet share from them. And that's the way I see it. Given the brand ethos, given the brand purpose, I think we look at every household giving us a larger share of the wallet. And I think how does the brand morph itself to deliver that promise? I think that's what it is.
That's so well put. So smarter kitchen is something that I'm going to take with me, because that's a good keyword. A lot happening in that space, and it seems that kitchens are becoming smarter and also becoming more aspirational. So, I mean, nobody is afraid to be seen in the kitchen. That's really the most happening place in the household. Now, if you are to make kitchens smarter, and if that's the way it's going, I'm sure the marketers also are turning smarter. And I think one of the ways that you must be using data to make strategies smarter would be coming through data. And data then has a balance between data, personalization, and trust as an important tenet. How do you balance all of this? How are you using data, and on what parts of this ecosystem are you using data?
See, a lot of data, we have a large retail setup with us. We've got close to 700 stores with us that deal with direct consumers. So I think a lot of data that comes from these 700 retail stores, we transform into trends that we are able to look at. For example, and it applies to most categories in India. I mean, I could say India is actually a microcosm of maybe 30, 40 worlds. It's not a single universe that's uniformly available, right? So the way a particular state or a particular cluster of geographies look at it vis-a-vis the way it probably is looked at in a southern part of Tamil Nadu, there's a lot of difference that is there. We use data first to say that there is a nuance that each geographical cluster has, and therefore how is it that it's getting serviced, which means it helps us win all over India in a very targeted manner and in a very scientific manner. The second way we look at data is to say the purchasing habits differ, the seasonal habits differ as well. Our retail outlets give us that benefit. So I think in this category, while data is very difficult to come by, largely it normally comes through secondary and tertiary data, but we have the benefit of having these stores with us. Combined with regular in market intelligence that we have, I think we've been sort of looking at data to help us create the right set of product portfolios, right? And like you said, the Gen Z's design perceptions are very different from the older generation. How are you actually capturing that through probably data? So data, in my mind, is used in a lot more productive manner to get much smarter product portfolios. Look at different geographies where we would probably be able to go on, take on the regional players a little more strongly, and also be able to create a distinct sort of an approach for the brand. And I think it's been working for us so far.
And you have an interesting challenge too, because I think now in different categories you're competing with different brands. I think it's not the same brand that you compete with across categories. So, so one is product portfolio, and then one could also be, say, price points, because I imagine you're also you're focusing on tier 2, tier 3 for certain products, and as we get smarter, you're also maybe looking at some categories going into premiumization. So does data help you? What are the trends that you're seeing in tier 2, tier 3 versus a Gen Z to a nuclear family? And
so very clearly, I think there's a very distinct difference when you look at Gen Z versus sort of tier 2, tier 3 in a little bit of a homogeneous manner. I think tier 2, tier 3, a very broad statement if I had to make. I think tier 2, tier 3 are very aspirational and very experimentative, given that this aspirational nature is there. And I think we see a lot of, therefore, benefit in terms of getting into these locations, right? The e-com channels give us a lot more visibility around these. Given one of the things that's happened in this category with e-commerce coming in is that the physical distribution, which was a limitation for us, unlike in an FMCG segment where they reach millions of outlets, these categories are reached to a certain geographical level given the physical limitations of logistics. E-commerce channels have helped us break that barrier today. So today when you look at tier 2, tier 3 towns, I think they're quite aspirational. They're quite willing to experiment. Tier 2, tier 3 towns also would like the premiumization to happen over a period of time, but they're starting off today. So I think a huge opportunity in tier 2, tier 3, and that's how we are leveraging data to say how do we reach them, which are the clusters that we should be present in so that we attract maximum amount of consumers. The premiumization, on the other hand, is happening with the urban markets of the top 200 towns or cities in the country. Now, this probably is due to global exposure. It's due to a lot of travel that's happening. There's a very distinct value-based differentiation that's happening in the urban markets, I would say. So we look at it two ways. In India, if you want volume growth, please go to tier 2, tier 3. If you want value growth, please understand the top 500 cities better. I think there's a very distinct business opportunity that emerges, and both, by the way, are aspirational. Even the urban markets want to be even more aspirational than what they are today. The tier 2, tier 3 is trying to ape the urban market. So there's a constant upgradation cycle that's happening across categories, right? Now, Gen Z is immune to all of this. I mean, they're a very different segment altogether, and I think understanding them takes a lot of time. But very interesting, they have their own nuances, right? The reason they buy a product is not the regular reason that we think they would buy a product. And therefore understanding them, I think, becomes difficult. In my mind, the way we look at it is, I think we look at it as a house of brands opportunity. There are multiple brand opportunities that would come across tier 2, tier 3, the big cities, and the Gen Z. And probably over a period of time, you would see a lot more of branded opportunities emerging across these segments by various brands, including ours. We don't want a single brand to talk to all of these three segments. We might have different brands talking to them in a different language. But I think the opportunity sizing for all these three are very good, right? And Gen Zs, for example, are driving the small domestic appliances. They're actually making these kitchen categories impulsive categories, right? I mean, today, they don't hesitate to buy maybe a 2,000 rupee product, just throw it away in 6 months' time and come back again. So the replacement cycles of some categories are actually becoming abnormally low. That's Gen Z for you. So I think it's a combination of three, but we are blessed to be in a country where you have such multitudes of opportunities that as a marketer you can actually tackle and probably win upon as well.
Wow. That's amazing. So, ladies and gentlemen, actually, one of the most interesting things or what we could take away from this session is also that this category really reflects on the understanding of India. So, while he's talking about, sort of tier 2, tier 3 India, he's also talking about Gen Z, he's also talking about 500 top cities. So, perhaps there'll be very few categories who'd have this kind of reach. And to develop and, to add power to this reach is the trust that the brand really enjoys. That's very, very unique. And I think only a very skilled marketer is able to, sort of transfer this trust into various models to enter the household. And one of the big advantages I think Prestige has is that these households have given entry to that brand very early on, and not just our generations prior have given Prestige an entry. So you have an entry into the household, but are you able to sort of also then move different verticals, different product categories, in ancillary kitchen equipment, appliances? Is it easy? Is it difficult? Does it give you a competitive advantage to make or harness a Prestige household better?
So I think yes, I firmly believe that we get an entry into the household, and I think once a brand has got the entry into the household, it makes its job easier provided it's relevant, right? I think more important for us is the brand relevant in that particular category, and can I take it in? For example, we know that in some of the categories in the kitchen, we are not seen to be the right brand. So either we work towards that or we drop that category and move towards a category it's more amenable. But like I said, we're today present in maybe 6 to 7 big categories, subcategories around 5 to 7. So totally, if you were to see your kitchen having 25 products, you'll probably see 19 to 20 of the products being given by Prestige as well. Our challenge is that if I were to take a measure and say, look at all the kitchens in India and see how many products is Prestige as a product being present, my market share probably would be a little more lower. And my job probably is to make that share go up. And therefore I call it a wallet share, as I mentioned to you. But if I were to look at it, say there are 25 products in the kitchen, 20 of them are from Prestige, that my life is done then.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to look at it. So what's the kind of success you're getting in various, so you have a lot of micro segments. In the sense, there's a segment, you counted out the segments, there are different types of segments. And so what kind of success are you getting? What growth rates are you seeing?
We are reasonably placed today. I think while where we want to be is far higher, but I think we are reasonably placed over the last decade or so. We've been able to, in fact, our expansion into multiple categories happened over the last 10 years or so. So I think we've reasonably been placed in this journey, but like I said, the world is changing, consumers are changing, new brands are coming in, competitive pressures are increasing. I think they're keeping us on the toes. But my belief is, I think the right approach, given the legacy of the brand and the strength of the brand, that opportunity is still open. And as Indian market opens up, one of the things that we're seeing is more and more kitchens or more and more urbanization of households are happening in the country today. So more kitchens are getting opened up. So which obviously means that more and more of these categories have to get into kitchens more. So I think there's an opportunity available for us, and I think I'm quite bullish about it.
Yeah, that's great. And how do you then look at, see, one is the outside, you've given me a perspective of what the demand looks like and where are the opportunities. Is there an internal realignment of resources, or is there an automation effort? Because you opened up a lot of categories, you're looking at different segments of audiences, and obviously it can't be done with the way things were done in the past. So is there an organization realignment? Is there a resource optimization? Is there automation processes that kick in? And is it easy to sort of work on a legacy framework that's done so well and to tweak in a change into that?
Yeah, so I think, so me being here as the CEO of the company, I think that's a big change. I think it's moved from a very family-owned organization to a professional organization. That's the first one. And I think then the second, if I were to look at it, saying, like you said, our firm belief, and I think that's what is driving us, is we've been successful so far. It is not guaranteed any further, and therefore that keeps us awake to say, is there a way that we need to look at things that need to change, right? A lot of automation is happening, a lot of analytics-led, consumer behavior analytics-led thought processes are happening. So I would say there are three major changes that are happening beyond the marketing domain or the brand domain. One is in terms of the way decisions are being made, because they are data-led. They're less gut-led and more data-led, which is, I think, needed today given the multitudes of opportunities that we need to run after, multitudes of competitors we need to run after. I think that's one. The second one I would say is a lot of automation today happening given the opportunities of, we are manufacturing intensive. The category is very manufacturing intensive, and therefore there are a lot of opportunities around automation in the company. From legacy factories, how do you sort of get them sort of automated? That's the other one that's happening. The third one is in the mindset. Like I said, I think the mindset, which is rightfully so, is that of a very successful organization, a large brand, 75 years of heritage. There's no need for a change. Why change, right? And I think that's something that probably I would credit to the leaders of the organization, the erstwhile leaders, where they believe that, no, that's going to be hindering the organization. Prospective changes have happened, and I think I'm at a position where I could implement some of those changes much more easy into the organization. But I think it's a large transformation at an organization level, at a behavioral level, at a technology level. But I think what does not change is, like you said, what does the brand stand for? I think that does not change. What does not also change is, after all of this, if you don't understand your consumer, you don't win. So I think consumer at the center continues to remain the key focus. Preserving the legacy of the brand and preserving the relevance of the brand is even more important. The rest, everything then sort of dovetails around that wheel.
Yeah. So that means continuous marketing.
It is continuous.
If the brand is, and like we were discussing, that AI in today's age can sort of prop up a design in a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
But it's the trust, it's the value of the brand. So now coming to that most important part, because you're custodian of obviously a lot of top line and bottom line, but you're also custodian of a far bigger brand. How do you plan this brand, and what's the kind of marketing you do? What are the vehicles you use? How do you ensure that there is consistency, and how does it change according to your audience groups and products?
So the main brand communication is consistent across multiple media, right? We present omnipresent in print, we present in TV, we present in digital very strongly. I think the ethos of the brand and the main communication platform of the brand doesn't change. The way the message gets executed probably changes across the different media, right? For example, over a period of time, our digital communication has become even more younger. We're able to experiment a little bit. So if I want to actually sort of experiment a little bit to see, is there a pushback on the limit of communication, we go to digital. Because digital gives you that immediate feedback, positive, negative. And therefore, for example, the last few campaigns, we've been a little more aggressive, a little more game-changing in the digital space, right? Television doesn't allow you that too fast, but once you're convinced with digital, we take it to television. My firm belief for the categories we are present in, print is equally important. Print is important because the product features get communicated much more sharply. So I think we use a very healthy balance of television, the press, and print and digital. But I'm excited about digital because digital helps me stretch the brand a little bit. That gives me that flexibility to experiment a little bit and see if it works. Some of our campaigns have really worked well, right? And just as a joke, I think if I want to get some of my bosses to be happy, it's better to be seen in the digital media because that's what reaches them faster. And I think we've seen that. I think digital media is quite, today you just pick up your phone, something pops up, right? So you could have done the best of your work, but if you don't get the right thing popping up at the right place, that matters as well. But I think it works very well, and I'm quite excited. I think multitudes of space, that's something that we're upping up our marketing spends. We are looking at multiple category spends and upping up our marketing spends, and I think it's an equal split that we would do, television, print and digital as well.
Yeah. So I'll take 3 ROs from you by the time we finish this.
Maybe.
So, but you got me really curious on digital. I mean, you spoke about experiments with a lot of passion. So, would you be able to give us some idea? Would you be able to give us some examples of where you've tried, tested, and sort of calibrated your campaign again?
So, for example, Jo BV Se Kare Pyar, right? That was an iconic campaign. I think the brand was anchored around for quite a long time, right? The category cues were always around women in the kitchen doing this stuff. We wanted to actually move away from that to say cooking is about equally shared responsibilities. And so first, it's an equally shared responsibility. Second, it's an enjoyable space for the family, right? But it's too wide a gap for us to be able to take that at one shot into mainstream one. So we did a series of campaigns in digital. We saw the responses from different, and digital, what it helps sometimes is to get calibrated reviews from different age groups as well, your core audience, your new audience. So we did find that the resistance to the idea was actually very less. In fact, some of our core audience liked the fact that we are also acknowledging change. And I think that gave us a little bit of the confidence to start moving in the other direction. A lot of campaigns like that we've done. Our recent campaign that we did in digital was on the same time frame. So I think it helps, right? And the lingo sometimes changes. You can test with some of the Gen Z lingos, which you won't be able to do in some of the other places. So that's the other thing that we do. So I think it gives us that flexibility to meddle a little bit. But of course, with the guardrails of the brand, I think that's more important.
Yeah. So are the stories changing? Because every home sort of has a story now, and a lot of these stories are captured by Prestige over the years. So what's the kind of feedback you get from consumers? Because I saw the last session talking about there's a lot of feedback that's lying on Reddit, that's lying on WhatsApp, that's lying in public forums. So what's the kind of feedback, what's the kind of tales you've been getting earlier, and what are the
two things. Consumers
now?
Are ruthless today, right? They can just push you down if they don't like you, right? And it is quite visible when you see some of the reviews, right? Rightfully so, they have a right to communicate and they communicate, right? Reviews, I think e-commerce sites give us a lot of reviews. Community forums give us a lot of reviews, right? So I think quite clearly products, you can't push a product which is not up to its mark, right? And I think we have the benefit of retail and we have the benefit of digital. Both give us consumer reviews in a very dynamic manner. And that's helping us sort of recalibrate some of our products, right? And it also helps us actually validate some of the hypotheses that we would have built in when the design happened. The design of the product could have been done with a certain hypothesis in mind. But that when it goes to the market and when it goes to consumers, the reviews give us actually a very quick validation of that hypothesis, positive or negative. I think we've seen that happen across categories.
So is there a review, any review that's given you a sense that male is going to the kitchen? I mean, is there any campaign you're planning?
No, if you were to look at a recent digital campaign, and that seems to be sort of hitting a chord, is the father is actually cooking for the daughter. I think that's the recent campaign. I think we just started it during the Diwali season that we started off, right? So we had a very clear view, we had a very clear anchor or a pivot around the father cooking for the daughter and the daughter's friends, right? So there's actually a reverse. That's an interesting anecdote. In most cooking companies, it is a must that the cooking is done by the lady. So you can't have an ad where there's no lady at all. That's first of all a mandatory creative constraint that you have, right? I don't know why, but that's how it is. And the second thing is you could have the male, but the male can't be the main character. Yeah. So we reverse the whole thing here. In the full footage, maximum amount of time is actually on the male. It so happens that the consuming segment is actually the female. So we tried this. Oh. We looked at the reviews. I think the reviews have been very positive, and consumers actually picked this nuance, saying for the first time we are seeing that you have a male protagonist who's actually there for a longer period of time in the ad than the female protagonist. I think things like that help you actually then sort of push
I saw that ad, it's very interesting. But I think for audience benefit, you should tell them, was the male able to cook or not? Well,
it did, because we said if you don't know cooking, there's still Prestige who can help you make cook better. So that was the logic, but I think it worked, yeah.
So does Venki go to the kitchen?
Honestly, before this, no. Right now, yes.
What do you cook well?
I would say in the last 1.5 years, I've been a reasonably good cook now.
Wow. And what do you cook well?
I do a lot of South Indian recipe. I'm trying my luck with North Indian recipe right now and international as well. But I do. So from being an omelette only guy to be able to cook at least a reasonable spread of South Indian dishes. I think I'm there right now. And I think a lot more to be done as we move.
Wow, I think a round of applause for him for having taken the meal to the kitchen. I think that only an amazing marketer can do. So I think as a closing remark because I really want to give audience an opportunity for questions, because it's not, every day that you get a marketer like you and, a brand like Prestige to talk about. But the last, I think, concluding questions about the brand purpose. How do you see Prestige's brand purpose today in India? What role do you see Prestige playing in the consumer's life?
So two things. I think we believe that we would like to continue to pioneer the category development that we've been doing. A lot of products that you see that we've been in have been innovations from the stable of Prestige, right? And we continue to hold that innovation as a pivot. The second that we see, and that's a very ambitious set of targets that me and my senior members are looking at, is how do we actually therefore bring in the cooking element to it rather than look at yourself only as a product company, right? Cooking, I think, there are lots of doubts. If you were to actually be in a different forum, they'll be probably talking about saying, is cooking in India going to die, right? We firmly believe cooking is an experience, right? It is linked to the Indian ethos and it is not going to sort of vanish away. Of course, there are temporary challenges that would happen in line with technological advancements. So, how does a brand enable the cooking experience of the consumers? I think that's one. How do you make the kitchens more smarter? And third, I think, is very clearly, how do you bridge, or how do you be a bridge among the family? See, if you were to just step back and look at from a larger perspective, I think we are in a space that probably unites disjointed families today, right? What your phone does, we are actually doing the reverse of at least making people come together to eat. I think that's something that we think is a space that we should be in. Elevate the brand, elevate the purpose of the brand to be able to look at the overall house and how do you bring joy to the house through cooking. I think that's an agenda that we are driving right now.
That's so amazingly, succinctly put together and very emotional. I think it really hits a very higher purpose. It's amazing to bring the family together. That I think is a very emotional high. So, ladies and gentlemen, you've had an amazing conversation with amongst the top marketers of the country on amongst the biggest categories. We have about 2 minutes and 45 seconds. We have enough room for questions. So we welcome the questions. Uma has many all the time. So
I want him to utter the Tamil version of Jo BV se pyar karega. What does it mean?
Unfortunately, there's not one in that way. But the meaning says very clearly, who would, if Jo BV se kare pyar, wo Prestige se kaise kare inkar, means whoever loves his wife, why would he say no to Prestige? Right? But unfortunately, like you said, there's no Tamil version on it at this point of time.
மனைவியை நேசிக்கிறவங்க பிரஸ்டீஜ் வேணாம்னு சொல்ல மாட்டாங்க.
Yeah, that was the version. But the Hindi version was far more succinct than the Tamil version. Yeah.
there is a Telugu version also, Malayali also.
Every version is there.
Correct.
But the recall is more on the Hindi version than on the regional versions. Yeah.
And you've tried that on digital. I think that's one of the places where I saw all the languages coming through. Yeah. So, anybody else? Otherwise, is there a hand raised or something? I can't see in the light. Yeah, please, go ahead.
Hi, this is Anshul. Mr. Venkatesh, how are you looking at capturing the younger audiences for such a category, right? Of course, they have their own preferences, but Prestige has been there. What are you doing differently to capture the Gen Zs, the Gen Alphas? Because eventually they will also come in the consuming space.
So I think, two things that we're doing. One, like I said, we are into omni-channel. That sort of helps us reach out to different segments. Our product portfolio is getting sort of little bit altered to suit the tastes of the Gen Zs, right? Third, I think, is in terms of also being able to create a different communication language with them, which probably leads to a sub-brand at some point of time. So I think there are 3 areas that we're looking at. Brand, we're looking at the product portfolio, and then we're looking at the reach as well. So the 3 different ones that we're trying out. The design language, for example, is very different. One of the things that's happening in the category today is, if you look at our generation, I can take that liberty, we were looking at durability as the mainstay of the product, right? You wanted products to stay for 15 years, 20 years. Cookers in my house, for example, are 25 years old, right? Today's Gen Z is not about durability. It is about aesthetics. It's about pleasing to the eye, pick it up faster, use it, throw. So I think there are nuances that you capture in the portfolio. You capture it in the brand language, and also in terms of the reach, where you can sort of reach them out faster. That's what we're trying right now. It would be probably led by a sub-brand approach over a period of time.
Is channel approach also changing? Because you will find them maybe on other platforms, quick commerce, Instagram, Snap, I don't know. I mean, you will find these people not on traditional retail outlets perhaps.
Yeah.
So how are you tackling that? Is that a big enough thing right now for you?
We have substantially moved our investments to digital. We've substantially moved our investments to some of the social media. So I think there's a lot of work that's happening there. I think our challenge is the understanding of these media and how do we use them. That, I think, over a period of time, we've sort of now ramped up our capabilities there. Thanks to this, the average age of the organization has come down. So I think we're reasonably placed there. But yeah, channel plays a very large role. Traditional channels are not very dominant. There's an increasing focus on quick commerce, e-commerce, digital platforms, all of that stuff right now. See, but what we don't want to do is lose the experience of the brand and the product. Because you can just hawk a product on e-commerce or a quick commerce. If you don't get the product design right or the product right, consumers are not going to stay with you. So that, I think, stays constant across consumer segments.
Agreed. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for a riveting
One last question.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, thanks. I'm Shiv here. You were just talking about the Gen Z experience and the use and throw and the durability versus the aesthetics. The purchase occasion and the frequency between two purchase occasions is pretty large. How do you ensure that for the brand you get the consideration set amongst your audience at an optimum level throughout the season? What is that you do to keep that continuous?
Now, we're fortunate we're present in multiple categories. So we do believe that throughout the year, one or the other category gets bought. And so from a household perspective, that's the way we approach it. I think the ability to purchase multiple products from the same household is one thing that we focus upon. And therefore, unlike a single category player, we probably have multiple opportunities to talk to the consumer, be it in media, be it in isolated space, we still do that. Having said that, I think the replacement cycles are falling sharply today. And therefore, that's another thing that we're gearing ourselves with. Some of our categories are seeing very sharp drop on the replacement cycles, and therefore, how do you sort of understand that cycle, use data to analyze, understand that cycle, and then be prepared for it. So to me, I think these are two things that I would say. A multi-category focus, which means we are continuously and consistently, we are amongst the only kitchenware brands which would be consistently present throughout the year in media. That's because of the portfolio that we have. The second thing is, I think we use data extensively to understand when does the replacement cycle sort of start kicking in, and we then put in our efforts through channel to be able to be present. That's the omnipresence that we bring in from a communication perspective and a reach perspective.
I need my photograph now. I think we're done.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the heartfelt conversation. So yes, for the felicitation, we'd like to invite Mr. L.V. Navaneet, CEO of the Hindu Group, to kindly join us on stage. So yes. So yes, once again, everybody. also we'd love to get a group picture too.